Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Select Board meeting of June 5th, 2023. Our first order of business, I will entertain a motion for the signing of the warrant.
I make a motion we sign the warrant for May 8, 2023.
And I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next order of business, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes, providing there are no corrections or amendments to the minutes of May 8th, 2023.
I think they're accurate, Mr. Chairman, so I would make a motion to approve the minutes of May 8, 2023.
Good. Michael?
I would second that, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
all in favor? Aye.
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 Next on the agenda is a public hearing. We have a public hearing with the Mass Electric Company. They're asking for a petition. They're also doing business as National Grid and Verizon of New England to install 3 JO poles on Sumner Street and relocate 1 pole on Sumner Street. They also seek permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the way or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with poles and buildings for distributing purposes. And Mr. Al Galvin is going to be representing National Grid. Is Mr. Galvin on the air now?
He is now.
Hi,
Yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes, Mr. Galvin. How you doing? Good evening, and thank you for being on time for us. What we'd like to do is, at this time, we'd like to have you in detail tell us what you're going to be doing regarding the petition on Sumner Street, and of course, why this is needed, okay?
Yeah, so the Planning Engineering Department wants to install some regulators to maintain a satisfactory voltage throughout the entire feeder. They tend to want that at a particular distance from the substation and also be in a straight line due to the weight of the equipment and things of that nature. So there's no massive changes to angles and anchoring, things of that. So this location between 26 and 27, each regulator, due to its weight and size, needs its own pole. So they called to install 3 intermediate poles between 26 and 27. They're in front of kind of a bushy, treed area, so it's not in front of a building in particular blocking anybody, in a straight line, and they can get some, accurate readings out there to make sure the feeder is running properly and stabilized, in case there's any spikes in the voltages, things of that nature.
Beautiful. Good. Okay. Thank you for getting that information out to us.
Sure.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
It's pretty cut and dry. I think
Right.
that's about it. Judging from it, it's going to be in line with the other 2 poles as far as
Sure.
on the, I believe it's the street side of the sidewalk, so people can get around it fine. Just like pole 26 is currently, it's not blocking any driveways, or they are relocating. Let me see, which one was it? I think it was pole 27 being moved 12 feet just to balance out the spans.
Right.
Due to the weight and the tension on the cables.
Good.
But it's a pretty minor move.
Yep. Very good. And where this is a public hearing, are there any abutters in attendance or any other residents that would like to take this opportunity to comment or to have any questions that you need answered at this time?
We only have one other person on, and I don't know what they're here for.
Okay. All right. If they can speak now. If not, then I would ask my 2 colleagues, Mike and Tom, if they have any questions or concerns for Mr. Galvin.
Al, I don't as it relates to this, but we did raise at the last meeting the question concerning double poles. And the questions over the past couple of weeks have persisted significantly. The number of people that have, double poles in front of their homes, and just trying to figure out when those are going to be addressed. If we could get a listing from your company, as well as I know that some of them are owned by telephone company, but if we get a listing of where the double poles are, and just so we have a sense to start to address them, and we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, the agreement that came up with a few years back, basically, so all the new poles going in are done by National Grid, and the old ones getting replaced are done by Verizon. So your best bet is someone to reach out to Verizon, try to set up a meeting with them or get a list from them. They would have it on their books. Unfortunately, it's been kind of a common thing. Every town, really. I don't know whether it's due to staffing or what have you, but it does take time for them to get rid of the older poles. So you will see double poles there. Could be several months, sometimes over a year. Depends on, we don't have any say to that. It's really up to Verizon when they can get out there. So that's basically all I could say is just like you'd have to reach out to them and see what they have on their schedule or in their plans.
No, I appreciate that it's staffing for each company, because you not only have to remove the pole, you have to transfer the wires for each and every, vendor that's on there. So I appreciate that. It's just a matter of trying to figure out exactly what we're talking about. If you could assist us even working with them, I'm sure that you communicate with them more often than we do. That would be appreciated. So that we're all working cooperatively, because you can't just, as you know, you can't just you plant a pole to hold a pole in many cases. And until you can have each of the companies coordinate movement of wires, so it requires not only cable, it requires the electric, it requires telephone, et cetera. So any way that you folks can be helpful to us as well, just so we have a sense of when people are calling us, and we can start to work with you to coordinate where we can give them some timelines that are realistic. Because right now they're on.
Yeah, I can shoot a message up to our clerk to set up this petition for us to attend, see if she can, reach out on her end. I'm not sure who deals with Verizon directly on our side, to be honest with you. But she can certainly reach out to someone if she has a contact, see if they can get you like a list or something like that.
Any help would be, we'd appreciate it. Just, and we don't have a problem having the town administrator reach out, but it's just a matter of, I know that it takes, from my past experience as a police chief, that it takes all the companies to come together to deal with one pole. So it's a bigger project than it appears. But I thank you very much for allowing me to raise that. And I make a motion that we approve the petition that's before us, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, a motion's been made to approve the petition that's before us regarding the installation of 3 JO poles on Sumner Street and relocate 1 pole on Sumner Street. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, before I motion on that, Mr. Galvin, Mike Walsh here, how are you?
Oh, good, thanks.
Just for clarity, for anybody that might have a copy of the schematic that was submitted to us, so right now, and again, this is just for clarity, pole 27 is the only pole that is there right now, and then 2675, 2650, and 2625 are the 3 poles that are being added, with 27 being moved 12 feet.
Right, yep.
So that is correct. Okay, just so that they clearly understand that the 3 poles being added are poles 26, 75, 50, and 25.
Yeah, 27's the one that's at the corner of that driveway going into the business there. So that's the one being moved slightly.
Yeah, 12 feet.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Galvin.
And just for clarification to the public too, when we say JO poles, we mean like a joint ownership pole where Verizon, where the ownership is probably by National Grid, but other entities like Verizon, telecommunications, and anything like that would also have use of that pole as well. So that's what Mr. Galvin meant when, it wasn't just his responsibility in regards to updating that pole. I mean, there were other entities that would also be using that as well. So that means, so the JO pole, when we refer to that at our meetings, means joint ownership. Anybody else have any kind of, so you second the motion?
I would second that motion.
And I make it unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Galvin.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you very much.
Good evening now, thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, thank you. The next on the agenda is any scheduled appointments, and I don't believe we have any. Town Administrator's Report, is Rick ready for one, or you want to wait till next meeting, Rick, because you're away?
No, I've got one, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. You're on.
Just 3 items tonight. I just want to thank Lowe's Store of Milford for their generous donation of 2 pallets of bottled water to the fire department. This donation of water proved vital to our firefighters who had to work several hours to extinguish brush fires during the extreme heat in April. An update from David Condry at the Water Department. They are now doing work to replace water mains in town. The work will consist of new water mains being installed along Exchange Street, from Congress Street to Main Street, along Clark Street between Exchange Street and Fayette Street, and along Fayette Street between Clark Street and Congress Street. Also included in this project is a new water main to be installed along Myrtle and Poplar Streets, from Claflin Street to Forest Street. Work will be conducted Mondays through Fridays beginning at 7 a.m., working hopefully about 8 to possibly 10 hours, weather permitting. This work is expected to run through July. Residents should be aware that they may experience temporary water shutoffs, increased noise from heavy equipment in the area, changes in traffic patterns, and road closures. The contractor, as well as the water department, will work to minimize any disruptions during construction. Residents are encouraged to call the water department, 508-473-5110, should there be any issues while the work is being done. And just a final, and I will remind the public in the future, the fireworks this year are being held. They're being held on Sunday, July 2nd. So that's Sunday, July 2nd. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you, Ricky, thank you so much. Any questions for the Town Administrator?
None at all. Thank you very much.
All set. Next on the agenda is old business. Anybody have any old business they'd like to bring up?
I do not, sir.
Michael?
I do not,
I
sir.
do not either. Moving on to new business. We have the Town Administrator regarding the naming of the room at the Senior Center.
Yeah, this is just administrative, Paul. Board never really formally took a vote. We know that we attended a wonderful ceremony for Sue at the Senior Center. The agreement was that we were going to call the Great Room the Susan Trotter Clark Great Room, and I would just ask for a formal vote from the board approving that.
Thank you. Yeah, again, like Ricky was saying, myself and my 2 colleagues did attend a retirement send-off for Sue a few weeks ago, and it was well attended, like our Town Administrator said. The Milford Council on Aging members and residents felt as though that, for the time and dedication that Sue put in and just made this facility such a lively and enjoyable place to go, that they named the function room the Susan Trotter Clark Great Room. And like I said, they were all in agreement with that, and that's why it's being brought to our attention today, so we could more or less make it a formal vote. And before I do make a motion, I'd like to know if any of my colleagues have anything to add to that at all.
Only that it came from the Council on Aging. I serve on it. I've served on the Council on Aging for quite some time. I don't know how many years. But, as you said, Sue took, really what Ruth had built and carried it to the next level and really opened the doors and created an atmosphere. Not that it wasn't there, because, Ruth Ann went from a very, very tiny space into the space that exists today, and they're already growing out at the seams of what they have today. So it's credit to her to attract the number of seniors and, things they're doing there now as far as fitness, and there's a nurse there, and so many other things to assist seniors to stay vibrant. So the council did bring that forward and recommend it to this board.
Sure. Michael?
I would just add, to what Mr. O'Loughlin said, very well deserved. Very well deserved.
Good point.
did a phenomenal job there, and every day I know she's missed. I would second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. So we have a motion made and second to name the function room at the senior center, the Susan Trotter Clark Great Room. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a gift to vote for us to accept the gift for the skate park project by Donald Kamastra and Marilyn Kamastra. It was given to us in a total amount of $25. Do I have a motion to accept this?
Make a motion that we accept the gift and send a kind note to the Kamastras thanking them. They actually reside in Hopedale. I'm not sure the connection. I'm pretty sure there's a connection to Milford because I do know other members of the Kamastra family. But long and short of it, the fact that they're showing an interest in developing a skate park here in Milford, we're grateful and we appreciate their support.
Absolutely, that's for sure. Michael?
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
And I make that unanimous. And again, people, realize that we realize how important these donations are to help these various projects out. And our thanks do go out again to Donald and Marilyn Kamastra. Thank you very much for your kind gesture. Next on the agenda is a request from an application for a one-day beer and wine license and for a live entertainment license from Powerless Incorporated, doing business as the Tradesman, for an outdoor mini concert with live entertainment to be held on Sunday, September 3rd, from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., to be held in the parking lot at 284 West Street, Milford. Police chief and fire chief reports are enclosed, and I got a letter from Mr. DeDominic, who will be running this event. This will be, at least at this location, be the last Labor Day Bash. In the past, the Labor Day Bash has raised thousands of dollars per year for a chosen local charity. This year, it's the Aaron Zenas Foundation, as well as having a working relationship with the Milford Special Olympics that does their own thing. The local music scene in this area is very deep, and playing at this event puts a lot of new eyes on musicians who otherwise would never play in front of so many people. Going under the assumption, if all goes to plan, as of this meeting on June 5th, Plains Auto will own the land at 284 West Street. The owner has given me, which is Mr. DeDominic, permission to use the land for one more Labor Day Bash. I will sign a hold harmless with him, obtain independent insurance, and there'll be no construction in motion by the date of September 3rd. In the decade that we have been doing this, aside from noise and complaints and one arrest, it generally goes off pretty flawlessly. The biggest headache being parking. Our neighbors are very generous in letting their lots be used, but it doesn't cover it all. The current parking lot set up by Chief Tom O'Laughlin seems to work fairly well. If the leap dump could be used that day, it would be very helpful. At the time we did use it, it took roughly 80 to 90 cars off the street. We also hire a police detail with a cruiser to help people cross the street and generally slow traffic coming from Upton, since it's a bit of a blind spot and 2 police officers on the ground at night. The setup is always the same. A pro stage and sound pointed into the woods located at the building where the building previously was. Multiple temporary bathrooms, one with handicap access, 4 handicap spots to park, 3 food trucks, sports bar, tents, a tap truck and which also doubles as a cooler, an ice trunk, and a tent with seating up on the hill. There is also a 20-foot width coned-off driveway so that an ambulance could get in if needed. Usually the event runs from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., with the band music ending at 11 p.m. and lower volume background music until midnight. This year I'm asking to run the bands roughly to midnight, as it lets me squeeze in one more band for our last show. If that's a deal breaker, the other way is just fine. And like I said, with Mr. Dominic here, if he has any questions from us, that he could answer them. But again, a couple of questions that I would have, how would you control a crowd that would be coming in? In other words, I know you said probably on your application, pretty close to 400. More and more and more, is there a control way that you would have?
Not really. Basically, we
Okay.
know everybody that goes there.
Okay, and you've been doing it for 10 years.
Like 80% of people we know.
Okay,
You know, it's not really very kid-friendly, so you don't have too many, people out of their mind drunk by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
right,
And we gotta keep an eye on them for 9 hours.
right.
No, it's very self-policing. That's one of the reasons the tradesmen never had, problems.
One of the things I do want to read, too, is a report from Rob Tizino in regards to that. It should be noted that the Highway Department may generate a bill for services regarding setting up and removing cones, road closures, safety devices. With that said, the police detail is as follows: 3 officers and 1 sergeant during the event. My best, Deputy Chief Rob Tizino. One of the things I was going to ask, with 3 officers and 1 sergeant, is anybody going to help you out with crowd control? Not crowd control, but anything that may happen in there?
I mean, it's a weird way to put it, but the crowd is kind of the police. Like, the T was never like a big trouble spot. If there was ever a fight, it was over like that 9 times out of 10. It was very self-policing.
So you have
crowd.
more or less people helping you out, too?
Basically, like if something started to go down, I mean, it would get split up and dove on in seconds.
Okay.
Just by the crowd itself.
And you're all set with the food trucks and whatnot?
Yeah, that's their own thing. They gotta deal with Joni and
Okay.
Mark.
Because one of the things I also want to read, too, is a report from the police, from the fire chief. On September 3rd, 2023, Mr. Ralph Dominic is requesting to hold a Labor Day event on the parcel at 284 West Street. Mr. Dominic and I discussed the following. 1, emergency vehicle access must be maintained at all times during the event. He provided a sketch that identified an acceptable emergency vehicle lane for the site. 2, food trucks and vendors must comply with propane storage, cooking, ventilation, and fire extinguisher requirements. Cooking under the tent is not allowed. Number 3, Mr. Dominic will notify food trucks and vendors that utilize fuel or conduct cooking operations to contact the Milford Fire Department. Mr. Dominic indicated that he will comply with the requirements. He also stated that there is an electric service on site, and to contact him if there's any questions that we need assistance with. So you have no problem with that, complying with the
Same
chief?
routine every year. And basically the same food trucks every day, so they kind of get in the flow.
Okay. Like I said, you've been doing this for 10 years,
I think this is 9th one.
It's the 9th year, so like I said, it's something that you're not a novice about. Tom and Mike, any questions or concerns you have regarding this?
I think the one question that comes up is, obviously, you're selling the land,
That's already done.
so what are your thoughts as far as the license? Where are you going with the license? Are you planning on looking at another location?
I do have inquiries in on 2 places at the moment,
Okay,
and hopefully I should hear back from them soon.
sure.
I'd like to ask if you'd let me, if you want to just indulge me, let the license run through its time period.
Sure.
If you could, you don't have to, but you've been very generous and understanding. But that's, as long as I keep looking, I want to keep looking, but I'm not hell-bent on finding a spot because there's only a few spots in town I would like.
All right, makes sense. Mr. Chairman, I obviously, and we discussed it, I went back and watched our meeting back in 2021. My dealings with Rob over the years with this event have been, direct, face-to-face, over a period of
good.
time.
Yep.
To make sure things are good, and, to the point where he said music, is 11 o'clock, and as he mentioned back then at that meeting, it was, I think, 11:03 or 11:05, and I was calling him from my deck because I could hear it. And
Allegedly.
and he allegedly, my ears weren't allegedly, they were a matter of fact, but he, the thing, he's always been responsive, and as he indicated, he has had the ability to bring together hundreds of people together into his establishment and that environment outside with the bands and food trucks for a number of years. And as he indicated, you see one arrest, if there were any other nuisances, the offices, there are sufficient staff there to take care of it, and along with his staff. Keeping in mind that this is a beer and wine license.
Right,
So you
right.
don't have the hard liquor there. And the charity that he's raising money for as well. He's named charities across the board. I went back and looked at the video. I recall saying to the board that he in fact had, similar to an Uber situation, where the charity, the folks from the charity were driving people back and forth from lots, and they would pay $5 a head each way. So for them, $10 wasn't a lot of money. For the charity, it was huge money when all was said and done. So I think the intentions are good, and this is our last hurrah, I guess, and I wish Rob well in finding another location. He's been a responsible owner with a liquor license as it relates to issues and concerns, so I'll wait to hear from my colleague, and then I'm willing to make a motion.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rob, just some, first of all, let me say thank you for thinking of the Aaron Zenas and the Milford Special Olympics Foundations for charities. Thank you very, very much for that. The letter that we have from Deputy Police Chief Tassino, he specifies there'll be 3 regular officers and 1 sergeant. My question to you is, and just a rough idea, what do you expect that you'll have on staff on your end as far as employees go for
Probably
that?
a total of maybe 10.
Okay. And again, for clarity, so this is the last time that you will apply for a license at that location?
Yeah, because when I talked to Steve,
Yeah,
took the land, he's like, well, no way there'll be any construction be built in by then.
yeah,
So I was like, so
So
a year
this-
from now, I'm sure there'll be something going on.
okay,
So, yeah.
all right, so this will be your last
Yeah,
on
and if he
that?
has tons of equipment over there, I can't ask him to move every year for me.
Yep.
You know, this is kind of close enough.
Yep, yep, okay, so this is your, at that address,
Yes.
okay.
Who knows if we find somewhere else?
Exactly, exactly. And, you know, it's always been well-attended and well-managed and a great event, so. The only other question that I would have is, you're looking to use the leaf dump area, and the question that I would have is, do we have the authority to issue?
We do not.
Yeah.
The authority rests with
So that's
the,
off.
I already checked it.
Highway surveyor.
It doesn't look good, let's put it that way.
Okay, I just want to, just go only because it's in your letter, so that's off the table.
Right.
Okay,
When I wrote the letter, it was a while ago, I wasn't aware that you guys didn't have purview over that.
right.
I didn't know, didn't know it was the highway's call.
Yeah. That's, we see that a lot, people, the park commissioners that are independently elected, as Scott is, and so, okay, I'm all set, thank you very much.
Yeah, especially too, with this is Rob's 9th year. It's not that it's, you know, he more or less would know what to do right now.
Oh, yeah,
Very little activity that would be called that, you know, where one arrest and that's about it, and some noise complaints. But you learn throughout the years on how to improve on things.
Yeah, that's
So
what-
that's what I'm going on as well.
Rick has his hand up.
Oh, Rick? Ricky?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I had this conversation with Rob. In his letter, he indicates that the property, so my question, does Plains Auto own it now, Rob?
Yes,
The deal has been finalized, the deed's been recorded.
yes.
Okay, so in my discussions with Rob, and I have spoken with town council on this, we're going to have to request a certificate of insurance from Plains Auto. They will be the property owner on the date of this event, which is September 3rd. So, and I guess Rob and I have discussed that, so if they're going to make a motion, then I would think that that would have to be included.
Okay, I have insurance that, like, my insurance is gonna do Steve's corporation that owns the land. I'm gonna put the town of Milford on there and myself. Does that count?
But who owns the land?
a
Who owns the
an
property?
LLC that Plains owns. So,
Okay, that's my point, though. I think we need a certificate of insurance from them. I talked with you about this, and you indicated that was acceptable, so is that something changed?
I'm just not sure if you meant I could just put him on my insurance that I'm going to get anyways.
No. Well, again, the property owner is not you, it is
Okay.
another
I'll
entity.
talk to him Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the other way around.
Okay, but I mean, I think it has to be a condition of the license, I'm sorry, but
That's fine.
that's my advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not a problem. And I'll actually have that, I can't get a quote unless it's within 60 days of the event. So that's why I don't have anything tonight. So once I have that, which would be right after you guys come back from July 4th, I'll bring you in. It'll be all done.
Sure.
Yeah, just
Okay.
have him add you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not really sure if I can, yeah, I'll get whatever you want, something like that.
yeah, because
You're flipping two names, that's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's myself, Plains LLC, and a town of Milford is what I have at the moment. If I need something else from Steve, I'll just
yeah,
get it
see,
from Steve.
because what I was confused is, because you did say in your letter that you'd obtain an independent insurance,
Yeah, I have
but
to.
it has to be the landowner.
Okay, I'll
Yeah, I
check
just,
with him, see what.
thank you for that, Rick.
You're welcome.
Now, Tom, I did have one question. Did I check off not all alcohol on that?
It says beer and wine.
Beer and wine, yeah. Yeah, that's what it says.
Can I change that?
You're for business, Rob, I don't think you can.
No.
Oh, okay, so my,
no,
even though I
this
do
is-
charity elements, I'm not for
The
charity.
the only thing checked is.
I'm sorry, you're for profit, you're for profit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's just beer
Yeah.
beer and wine, no alcohol. All alcoholic was not, for nonprofit or profit, it was not checked.
It says beer and wine, it actually says it in the narrative, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Jim, I make a motion to approve a beer and wine license one day for Powerless Inc., DBA The Tradesman, as well as Plains Auto LLC, at 284 West Street. And I believe it was September the
Third.
3rd. And I'll do that one first as far as a license, and that the insurance policy will be in the name of the owner of the land, Plains LLC, or one of their derivatives, and will name Powerless as the Dominic, as well as the town Harmless.
Now, one other thing that was brought up too, to my colleagues, was the extra hour from, it ordinarily
Second
goes
license,
from
that's
11 a.m. to 1 a.m., and he said that he may want to squeeze in another band until midnight.
It's 11:45.
The entertainment license is a separate license, sir.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's an additional hour added on to the actual license itself?
Or does it at 11 by default?
I was just going to say too, where you've been doing so good for the past almost 9 years, from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m., why don't we just keep it that way?
Okay, so whatever you guys want to say.
What day of the week is it?
Yeah,
That would be,
that's what's on your
I
application.
think it's,
Just took a shot.
yeah. Yeah, it is on the application, yeah.
It's a Sunday, you can't go beyond 11.
Right, so let's keep it at that, because like I said, you've been doing well with that time, why change things?
Yeah, you have an hour to clear people out too. So it'd be 11 a.m., and you have till 12 a.m. to clear people.
Clear it out, but 11 a.m. you stop serving.
12 a.m. to clear people off the premises.
Right.
It would be 11:30 a.m. as far as serving.
Yeah, we do last call depending on how the crowd is at the time.
Okay. So that's my motion.
Okay,
I would second that.
second that, and I'll make that unanimous, I'm in favor of that as well.
And then with regard to the entertainment, you know, there was a question to go beyond the time that it's gone before. I think to press it beyond 11 p.m. is really based upon my experience in dealing with the neighbors, particularly in the immediate neighborhood, I think you're pushing it.
Yeah, but like I said, you've been doing so well with what it is now. Why don't you just keep it that
It
way?
was just an extra ask, see how it goes.
Thanks. Michael?
So that's going to be 11 a.m.
Yeah.
to,
11 p.
To
11 to 11.
11 to 11.
11, I thought
11
so.
to 11. Right.
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, Rick has his hand raised again.
Yeah, Rick?
Just one last question. When I talked with Rob and I talked with town council, we were looking to have his company, Powerless, also provide an insurance certificate. He's going to be operating everything up there and managing everything. And again, that was the conversation I thought we had, Rob. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
You did say that, you said it in the letter anyway.
We probably did, Rick, you're right.
Okay, Independent,
My insurance guy is working on that.
yeah.
So
Okay.
today he just told me, he just
I want
goes,
to be clear.
yeah, he just told me, he
Okay.
goes, I can't give you anything until it's 60 days out.
Right,
It's too
so
early.
you'll have the insurance from the new owner and your own independent insurance,
Okay, yeah.
okay?
That's fair.
I'll hit up Mr. Steve, so we can yell at him.
Thank you.
thank you, Rick.
Thanks.
Want to make the motion?
Yeah, Tom, you already made a motion, right, from 11 to 11?
11 to 11.
11 to 11.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
And I make that unanimous. Good luck to you.
You're the best.
Thank
No,
you.
just to be clear, though, you cannot have anything other than beer and wine on the property.
Right.
Even people carrying it in, you can't carry,
Oh, we don't do it anyway.
I'm just.
Yeah, you
we're up
probably-
front. You can't carry liquor into an establishment or a licensed place that they're not licensed for. It's a real ABC
Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
problem, and it'll impact on your license.
And there's something, you said you're going to have about 10 other people to help you, and there's something to watch out for as well, okay?
No, that's right, that's the only reason I raised it. I
Yeah.
just don't want it to come back at the license you presently hold, that's all.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
That's it.
All good.
All set. Yeah, you're all set.
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good one, gents.
You too, take care.
Next on the agenda is, it's time for invitation to speak. Anybody on? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to correspondence. And what we have here is, I'm going to read this letter first, and then there's other information that came in by Rick earlier in the morning, and I'll address that as well, okay? So this here is a letter that we have from our town administrator to the Metropolitan Area Planning Council regarding the preparation of our 2024 comprehensive plan. The letter seeks for funding for the preparation of the plan through the Technical Assistance Program grant from the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. And the letter here is dated May 18th from our town administrator, Attorney Villani, to a Mark Drayson. Dear Director Drayson, the town of Milford, through its planning board, intends to hire the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, MAPC, planning staff to prepare a 2024 comprehensive plan, which would be an update to the 2003 comprehensive plan. To that end, we'll be placing a funding article on the fall special town meeting warrant. You may recall that the 2003 plan was prepared by MAPC and the Environmental Institute at the UMass Amherst Graduate Planning Department. Recently, the planning board chairman and the town planner have been working with MAPC planning staff to finalize a scope of work and cost estimate for a new comprehensive plan. MAPC staff has indicated that they should be able to begin work in the fall of this year, with the majority of the work to occur throughout the calendar year of 2024. The town now, through this letter, wishes to formally apply for funding match through the Technical Assistance Program. MAPC staff currently estimates the overall cost to be $163,000, with hopefully a Technical Assistance Program grant through MAPC to reduce the overall cost as much as possible. The Capital Subcommittee and the Finance Committee have been appraised of this proposal and estimated overall cost as we approach the October special town meeting. And that was signed by our town administrator, Richard Villani. I did get a notice from Richard, Mr. Villani, today, informing us that the town has received notice of the award of the grant in the amount of $60,000. To include that in this email packet tonight, which we just read. And it was a letter written by Andrea Harris Long, who is the interim housing director of the division manager. And she addressed it to our town planner, Larry Duncan. Congratulations, this email officially confirms that Executive Director Mark Drayson has awarded $60,000 in funding allocated over 2 years to provide technical assistance for Milford's comprehensive plan. Mark Raycott and Chris Cushell, copied here, will be our point contact for this project. MAPC, technical assistance is made possible through a range of sources, including district, local technical assistance, planning and Metro Common 2050 technical assistance grants and foundation grants. MAPC will be working with you to share information about the project in the media and legislators to appropriate time throughout the project. Now that the award is official, members of MAPC communications team may be in touch to discuss, various media operations, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, we would like to thank our planning board chairman, Joe Calagione, as well as our planner, Larry Duncan, and the staff for applying for this grant, and also our our representatives, our state representatives, such as Brian Murray, to help with this grant as well. It's really helped. So instead of going from $163,000, we can only be appropriating $103,000. So anyway, that does help. And like I said, like we mentioned the last time, I believe it was the May 8th meeting when the chairman of the planning board, Mr. Calagione, wrote to us expressing how they would be needing this money to help with this grant. And to have, again, we all said how important this grant was for a town, and having the right consulting guidance, from MAPC is the right way to go. So, Ricky, would you need a vote on this to put this on the town meeting warrant, or is it just an information?
No, once the warrant begins to be prepared for town meeting, obviously it'll come before you, three gentlemen, for your approval, and hopefully it'll be placed on the warrant.
Any members have any questions or comments or concerns?
And other than to say thank you, I mean,
Right.
it's a good chunk of money.
Good chunk of money.
towards, something that we have to accomplish. So.
Thank you to all the parties involved.
Very good. Next on the agenda is the Milford Youth Center, which is a letter that was attached to our packet by the director of the Youth Center, Jen Ward, regarding donations made to the center from the November 2022 to this date. Again, she gave a very extensive list of donations that she received and help from outside agencies and individuals with programs such as the Thanksgiving Thank You, which they served over 115 kids, and their special guests and volunteers with hot meals. And there was a host of individuals and companies that participated in this. And I don't think I want to labor anybody by reading this 3-page. Is it okay with the board? Yeah, thank you. Because like I said, it's
on the website, Mr. Town
excellent.
Administrator.
Thank you very much.
With the packet, it should be anyway.
Yeah, and there was also a Giving Tuesday thank you, which they surpassed their raising a goal of $2,500 to $22,670. They distributed on a holiday thank you over $15,000 worth of donated gifts to over 130 youths. Their recent golf fundraiser, May 5th, 2023, raised over $19,000. And they go on and on. Youth Works thank you. They received a contract for $203,000 from the state to run an income-eligible summer employment program. Again, and the list goes on, and then there's individual donations as well. Like I said, it's a well-worth organization that we have in the agency, it's critical stages of the individuals who participate in this. The young adults, they're learning how to be better students, better people, and better future leaders. So I think it's a fantastic program, and I thank Jen and her staff and to keep up the good work, because like I say, when you have donations like this from private individuals and private businesses, it takes the stress off a lot of us taxpayers to keep these important programs going. Anybody have anything to mention?
I think suffice it to say that, you know, the individuals, I don't think anyone will be surprised to see the names that are listed there. As far as the businesses go, you might as well say thank you to literally every business in town, because if they're not listed there, then they ought to jump on the bandwagon because everybody's ahead of them. It's incredible when you look at all the different, you know, restaurants and you name it, food places, et cetera. It just, the fact that they stepped up at different times and made a difference for the youth center is phenomenal. So
Excellent.
I just thank you to everyone.
Very good. Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I as well would like to say thank you to Jen and to her staff and all the people that were involved in this process. But to Selectman O'Loughlin's comment as far as the businesses, it's very nice to be able to look at the list of these businesses in Milford that truly take an interest in our youth. And, you know, we all know that's a very important age group that we attract at the youth center, and it's very nice to see that companies are willing to step up and help out and sponsor different events for the youth of this community. And I want to say a special thank you to all people or all businesses that have made a contribution to the youth center.
Thank you very much.
Good cause.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is an executive session.
Second that motion. Did we make a motion?
It was just a thank you.
Okay,
for
thank you.
comments. Next on the agenda is we need to go into executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session for the purpose to receive attorney-client and expert-client communication of legal advice regarding reasonably anticipated litigation or legal issues, the disclosure of which would compromise the town's position, which is the Milford Youth Center. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr.
So moved by Tom, second by
I would second that.
Michael. Motion's been made by Tom and Mr. O'Loughlin, second by Mike Welch. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion unanimously approved to enter executive session on roll call vote. A motion to adjourn this regular session of June 5th, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adjourn the general session of June 5th, 2023.
And I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
And I make that unanimous. This board will not reconvene to open session at the end of the executive session. Therefore, I thank you all for joining us, and good night, and have a good night. Thank you.